closing in on the NFL draft. I think we're about 9 weeks away. Sounds like it's far, but NCAA tournament will get here, the championship, and then we're in the heart of draft season. Combine starts next week. Tony Pauline does a great job on the draft from the host of the Draft and Analyst on the Bleav Podcast Network, NFL Draft Analyst at Pro Football Network. A lot of draft stuff this week, or next week, I should say, with the start of the Combine. We're going to get into a preview. Obviously, the Eagles with 3 picks. Giants have 2. A lot of stuff in the top 10. Washington, 11. So a lot of NFC East things to keep an eye on. But we're going to start all over the draft and take a look at more at the Combine next week. Tony Pauline joins us right now here on a Thursday afternoon on the Sports Bash. Tony, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Enjoy this time of the year. We know the Combine is here, and it looked like they weren't going to do it, but they cooler heads prevailed. They're back out there. Where is the Combine in terms of necessity now, in your mind, in this process?
Well, it's very important, and it's absolutely necessary, but not for the reasons that people, who watch the Combine think. It's not about the 40. It's not about the vertical. I mean, the medicals, which go on behind the scenes, which no one sees, those are the most important thing. That's the most important aspect of the Combine. And, medicals will drop a prospect faster than any poor, workout, any poor 40 time, any poor position drills. Bad medicals will red flag a guy and, have someone drop, 2 to 3 rounds. I've been to Combines where guys have had to retire on the spot because of things that they found during medical. So it's always important. It's just that the importance is not what you see on television.
Right. We're taking a look at these guys here in Philly. Notoriously, we remember Mike Mamula, the workout warrior, shooting up draft boards. I mean, are there guys that still happens for?
I mean, on occasion, Rich Kotate made that pick, and that was a little bit outrageous. But I mean, you've had guys that I don't think it happens as much anymore. There's always workout warriors. But we have not seen the Mike Mamula types in the past. We've seen situations where guys have run incredibly fast, much faster than people thought, but they went where they were supposed to in the draft, not middle or early part of round 1.
Tony, how much is this evolved, though? I mean, because you got the pro days, you got all that stuff that has been entered, a guy running here, because there has been some talk about the better guys. Does this actually hurt them? Is this more for the guy who's trying to work his way up the board?
Well, I mean, it really hasn't evolved that much, other than the fact that it's more now mainstream, whether it be on network television or on social media. I mean, the Combine has basically been the same. The first Combine I went to was in 2001, and except for a few tweaks here and there, they're still doing the same drills, and they're still doing pro days. Now, I mean, again, guys go there primarily for the medicals and for the interviews, and, a guy who's fast at the Combine is going to be fast during his pro day, or a guy who's fast at pro day is going to be fast at Combine. It's just a matter of, how far away are they removed from injuries they may have suffered during the college season? How prepared are they? The Combine is grueling. I mean, because it's 4 days of medical exams, poking and prodding. The interview process goes to 11 o'clock at night. You've got the psychological test, and then the on-the-field testing is the last thing that they do. So it is kind of a grind, which is why some guys, by the time they're called to do the 40 or the shuttles or something like that, they'll say, you know what, I'm going to hold off till pro day.
Tony Pauline, host of Bleav and Draft Analyst on the Bleav Podcast Network, NFL Draft Analyst at Pro Football Network, the Combine next week. How many players, in your mind, are in play at number 1 for Jacksonville?
I don't think it's as many as being projected out there. I think it's going to be one of the 2 pass rushers. I would be shocked if they go with the offensive lineman, because any offensive lineman is a massive reach over Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau. They are far and away the best players in this draft. Granted, you got to protect Trevor Lawrence. You got to find some weapons to throw him the ball to, but you got to be careful about reaching for prospects, because 2 or 3 years down the line, you could rue the fact that if you draft for need and bypass a highly rated player, especially a highly rated, potentially defensive impact player.
Tony, 2, you got Detroit. Do they just take the other pass rusher? Is that where they're locked in? You take one, we'll take the other, or is there a guy they'd rather have, and if he's not there, they go in another direction?
Well, I'm sure the guy that they would rather have is Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, it fits perfectly. A Michigan alum playing for the Detroit Lions. But again, you know, with Dan Campbell there, I think they would want a big, tough guy. Hutchinson fits that. I think that if Hutchinson is gone to Jacksonville, they take Kayvon Thibodeau. I don't think they take an offensive lineman. I don't think they take Kyle Hamilton, as people are projecting.
Tony, then obviously Houston's in a really weird spot. They could use just about everything here. Is a quarterback in play? Like, I know this isn't a great quarterback class. They've got Davis Mills, who they might like a little bit, but could they be the first wild card at quarterback?
I'd be shocked. And a quarterback at number 3 would be a reach. A quarterback in the top 10 would be a reach. I mean, it'd be foolish for them. They got a new coach there, although, you know, he's more of a defensive-minded coach. And you do have Nick Caserio there, who made a living at New England by taking, you know, quarterbacks outside round 1. And you do have Davis Mills there. So I would be shocked if they took a quarterback at 3. I would be surprised if any quarterback ends up in the top 10.
All right. I agree with that. I'm not a big fan of this quarterback class. You got the Jets. They got 2 picks, 4 and 10. They went quarterback last year. I feel like the Jets are a bit of a wild card because they kind of did everything. So is everybody kind of looking at them like, all right, which way do you go?
Yeah, and a lot depends on what happens with Mekhi Becton, you know, because he's turned into a dud thus far, so they're going to need a lot of help on the offensive lineman. You know, they could take Evan Neal there. They could take the kid from North Carolina State. I don't know that they take Kyle Hamilton there. The Jets have been eternally in need of a pass rusher for almost 20 years now, since John Abraham left the franchise. So really anything shy of a quarterback or a receiver, because there's not that many highly rated receivers in this year's draft. I think the Jets, I would agree with you, the Jets can go any direction, but I think they'd like to stay along the offensive line or get a pass rusher.
All right. Now, the Giants, who have 5 and 7. I mean, if you're the Giants, you've been horrible for the last, 5 to 8 years. Is this a good draft to have 2 picks in the top 7?
It's good to have 2 picks, or at least one of those picks in the top 4. I think the talent kind of slides, kind of drops off after the top couple of selections. You know, it's never bad to have early selections. And with the Giants, again, you know, they could use a pass rusher, they could use an offensive lineman, they can use a corner, and I think they'll be able to get 2 of those 3 positions, 2 of those 3 needs with both of those selections. So it's not a great year to have 2 picks in the top 10, but you're still going to be able to come away with 2 really good prospects.
Carolina's got big quarterback problems, but you don't think 6 is the spot?
No, because I mean they got big quarterback problems, and they have a coach that has to win right away. So if you take a quarterback, what quarterback are you going to take early that's going to help you win in 2022? You're going to be starting from scratch. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for Carolina, you know, to take a quarterback there. I think the best option would be to trade for a quarterback, whether that be Russell Wilson, whether that be Deshaun Watson, if all the issues kind of clear themselves, you know, get through the fog, and we have some sort of a vision of what's going to happen with them. But no, I think any quarterback would be a reach, and I don't think that it's a good choice considering that Matt Rule's got to win right away.
Now, would they get their pick of the litter of tackle?
I think most of the offensive tackles will be gone then. You know, if they want a receiver, they want a defensive lineman, a pass rusher, they could go in that direction.
All right, Tony, we get to 8. Atlanta took a tight end last year, so they went best player available. You would think, you know, they're in a weird spot because they got that veteran quarterback. Their offensive line stinks, and their defense has been a problem.
You know, if there's a good edge rusher there, I think that's the way they go. If there's a good offensive tackle there, I think that, you know, they would be happy to take an offensive tackle. If none of those 2 positions are there, we could see the first wide receiver come off the board at 8.
Yeah. And who would that be? Who's your top wideout?
As of right now, it would have been Jameson Williams of Alabama before the injury, but I think right now it's going to be Garrett Wilson of Ohio State.
Denver is really interesting because obviously they're in play for all the veteran quarterbacks out there. And as we keep kind of saying, you don't want to get one of these quarterbacks this early. You're in the 9 spot here, but they feel like they have almost everything else but the quarterback. So they might be a trade option, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they feel that they are, they're built to win now. You got a new head coach there, an offensive-minded coach, so which I think would be attractive to any veteran quarterback being traded there. And I think that's one of those picks that could, conceivably be moved before the draft even starts. Now, obviously, everybody's going to wait and see what Aaron Rodgers decides he wants to do. And as I've been reporting at Pro Football Network for months now, I mean, a trade to the Denver Broncos is a realistic opportunity, is a realistic option, although it will basically come down to what Aaron Rodgers says he wants to do. Stay in Green Bay, be traded to another team, maybe even retire.
All right, Washington. We know you don't like the quarterbacks, but they need one. Is 11 too early?
To select a quarterback on my board, yes. But, again, as we've seen time and time again, quarterbacks are always overdrafted. They always reach for quarterbacks. I mean, the top-rated quarterback on my board is graded as a late first-round pick. Now, he's probably going to go much earlier. That top-rated quarterback, Malik Willis, is number 19 on my board. Again, with Washington, I think that they would like to trade for a quarterback. What quarterback is going to want to go to Washington is the fact that, Washington could make the quarterback the highest paid player in the league, and money talks.
That's going to be an interesting. Washington, I feel, is really interesting with that whole situation. Then you got Minnesota. They're kind of saying they like Cousins, so they probably are in quarterback. But they got to get help on the defensive side of the ball, right? Or offensive line. Yeah,
offensive line or cornerback, I think, would be in play there.
All right. Couple more, Tony. We got the combine next week. This is a lot of stuff going to start stacking into place here. Cleveland at 13. This is a team that had a ton of talent last year. They're very good on the defensive side of the ball. Their offensive line's really good. So they're kind of a wild card in terms of what did they need in terms of where they draft, in terms of the position they're in and what their needs are.
They got to make a decision on Baker Mayfield first. This is another team, like the Denver Broncos, who feel, the time is now to win. And they were just in the playoffs 2 seasons ago, and they played relatively well. It comes down to, is Baker Mayfield the guy? If he's not, they're another team that will be in the market for a trade for a veteran quarterback. Otherwise, with the situation at receiver, which is still up in the air, I think we could see another receiver come, or the second receiver come off the board.
All right, we know that then Philadelphia has that whole situation with the 3 picks. New York have to be some of the most interesting teams with that amount of picks. But do you anticipate 15, 16, 19 that Philadelphia makes all 3 picks?
Knowing Howie Roseman, I mean, he likes to move up and down draft boards. We saw him move up last year to get Devontae Smith and trade within the division. So I would say it would be surprising if he makes all 3 of those selections, especially since the middle part of round 1 is really not the strength of this draft. I would say right now you're looking at less than 50-50. You're probably looking at about maybe 70-30 that he doesn't hold on to all 3 of those picks.
Now, Tony, the last time we had you explained, look, the first round maybe not the best, but you like the depth in this draft in those middle rounds.
At some of the positions, absolutely. Positions like offensive tackle, positions like tight end. I think you can get real good players in the second day of the draft. Even through the 4th round of the draft, you can get good players at those positions. It's a good running back class on day 2. You got some decent corners and safeties in day 2 as well. So, yeah, I mean, everyone focuses and concentrates on round 1, but the draft is 7 rounds. And in this year, at certain positions, you're going to be able to get players, real good players, starting potentially starters at the next level once the first round is over.
All right, Tony Pauline is our guest here. The NFL Combine begins next week. He's the host of the Bleav in Draft Analyst on Bleav Podcast Network, and he's an NFL Draft Analyst over at Pro Football Network. Make sure you check him out on Twitter at Tony Pauline. And we are getting close, 9 weeks out to the NFL Draft. Tony, thanks so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
He's got my blood moving now because of all this draft talk.